Let's take a look at some real baby eyes. There are babies with thick lashes, and some with thin lashes or no lashes. This part here is called the eyelid margin. The lashes attach at the edge of the eyelid margin. Here's the bottom eyelid margin, and you can see where the lashes attach. Also, notice the slight curl of the lashes and that they aren't all the same length. So on my Yale kit, this is where the lash margin is, and the eyelashes will attach at the edge of this margin. The bottom margin is easy to see on this kit, but on some kits you'll have to figure out where it should be. Rooting open eye lashes is the most challenging type of rooting. When you're rooting the head, the hair is under your needle, which makes it easier for the barb to pick it up. When you root closed eyes, the barb is again grabbing hair from underneath. But when your needle is on the edge of the eyelid, that becomes a bigger challenge. An experienced rooter can do it, even with a smaller gauge needle, but I've definitely had that frustrating experience of poking a ton of holes and picking up no hair. You might be tempted to root a loop where you wrap the hair around the needle. The problem with this is that each hair will stick out in opposite directions. My eyelashes really improved when I stopped rooting loops and rooted from one end only. I'll show you how you can do it by using thinner hair and a larger gauge 6-barb needle. If you don't already have rooting experience, you may want to try closed eyelashes first. They're a lot easier. It's going to take practice and determination to root open eyes well. It's very important to pay attention to your needle direction, both up and down and side to side. For side to side direction, when you're at the ends, your needle should point outward, and when you're in the middle, it should be straight. For up and down direction, I will line up my rooting needle parallel to the eyelid margin and then tilt it slightly down. There are a few reasons for tilting it down. First, the lashes will have a nice curl downward and then up. Second, there's less risk of hair poking through the eyelid margin. And third, it's easier to glue the hair when it's not right on the inside edge. When you do the lower lashes, you'll tilt the needle slightly up. So each time you line up your needle, check that the direction is correct, both up and down and side to side. If you root a lash pointing the wrong way, no amount of water or clear mascara is going to be able to fix it. You have to tweeze it out. When I first started rooting lashes, I asked other artists what kind of hair to use and was told to use the same mohair as on the head, or even a little thicker for lashes. My lashes ended up looking like this, with blunt ends. But real lashes taper at the ends, and this bothered me. I thought maybe I could use a razor to taper the ends, and that didn't work out so well. I thought a lot about this problem where I do my best thinking in the bath, and I came up with an idea that I imagine other artists have figured out, but it was new to me. What if I rooted a bunch of very thin hairs and then cut them to different lengths and combined them to make tapered lashes? So now I use very thin alpaca hair and root about 5 to 10 hairs at a time so that each becomes one tapered hair. Each of these lashes is 5 to 10 alpaca hairs. It needs to be a very good quality alpaca, as some are prone to breakage. A couple of places I like are Stella's Fiber Farm on Etsy and DB Art Babies by Lisa Stone. I like straight alpaca. I once tried rooting with this curvy hair to try and get a natural curl, but the lashes also curled side to side and I hated it, and the doll ended up on my shelf of shame. I've since heard that there's a way to turn each lash with the needle so it's pointing the right way, and I'll probably try that at some point, but for now I'm sticking with straight hair. I love thick lashes on babies when I can get away with it. I think it works on Pointy because of his dark skin and hair. I rooted lots of alpaca hair very close together for his lashes. But on a lighter baby, I use a lighter colored alpaca and root the hairs further apart. To get this effect of the lashes sticking together, almost like they're wet, you use clear mascara. This was an idea from Kimberly Gardino, which I'm grateful that she shared. Now I'll show you how I rooted Makey's lashes from start to finish. First I will heat the head. I'll show you what I use. I have this, which I got from Amazon, and I also have another one like this that fits in smaller neck openings, but I think this one will work for him. So let's see. I'm gonna warm it up a bit. Grab my rooting tool. This is the one I like. Well, I haven't tried a lot, but this one works for me. And let's see, I've got my Bountiful Baby needles. Now, I will probably horrify some people with this, but I'm going to use 40 gauge 6-barb needle. So super aggressive needle. What I don't like is when I end up making a ton of holes because I can't get an eyelash to grab. And so I want to make sure that I can get tons of eyelashes. So I like this very aggressive needle. Alright, so I've got the head heating up. I'm poking the needle in the flange of a softer kit to clean the tip off of it. To clean the, there's like some grease or whatever on the tip of a new needle that you gotta clean off first. Okay, and that's getting nice and warm. So I will get out my alpaca hair. And you want to pay attention to which direction your hair is going. So if it's, usually the hair comes connected at the top like this, and that is the direction you want it to flow, because there's a cuticle. Microscopically, the hair has a cuticle that only lays flat in one direction. And you can kind of tell when you put your finger over it one way and then the opposite way. So you always want to pay attention to which direction your hair is, so that you don't accidentally root it backwards. That would not be good. Okay, so I'll grab a chunk of hair, cut that. Oops. You can see this is way longer than what I need. And you can cut it shorter than that, that's fine. But I like keeping it long just because I go in and I chop the top a lot through the process to keep the top even. Because what I'm trying to avoid is when you root, when it's too far from the end and you root it, you have the hair go in, but you also have the remainder of the hair, the longer hair, poke out the other way, and and it goes separate directions. That's not good. So the way to avoid that is to keep your hair snipped to one length so that you don't have these extra long hairs. So that's why I'm starting long, so I can have lots of snippability throughout. Okay. So let me bring this down. I always work with this magnifying glass, but let me make sure it's in view of the camera. It's going to be kind of hard to it's going to be hard to do this with the camera. Okay, I think I can do it this way. Usually I'm so close to the magnifying glass, but the camera's kind of where my face would normally be. So, okay, so we'll see if I can do this. I might just root a few pieces and then to show you, and then get rid of the camera so I can do some more, because this is a lot harder with the camera. But it's super important to have your rooting needle go the right way. You can't just poke them in however and hope that you can use water or gel or whatever to make them straight. They have to go in the right way, or they will never sit the right way. So each hair I carefully decide on. I have to look closer to see like how far out would the eyelashes go. Like they wouldn't go all the way to the end, they would end maybe here. Okay, so each time I am rooting, I'm going to pay attention to which direction my needle is going, up and down and side to side. So like at the end, it's going to need to be pointing, it's going to go outward a little bit. Let me take this away for a second to show you. Okay. Yeah, so when you're at the ends, you're not going to have it rooted like this. You're going to need it to be out towards the side. And when you go in the middle, you're not going to want to be doing it like this or like this. It needs to be straight. The same thing when you get to here, it needs to be at the right angle. So side to side angle, super important. Up and down angle, also very important. You don't want to be rooting up like this. That is going to look weird, because eyelashes don't go like that. They go down and then up. And then the second reason why you wouldn't want to do like that is if you do that, your hair is going to come out right, it's going to poke out where the bottom of the eyelid is. You don't want that to happen. So what I do each time is I line, so bring this back, see if this will work. Okay. All right, so I line it up, choose where my needle is going to go, align, decide which angle, this way, and it's going to be slightly out, and I'm going to be pointing it slightly downward. Okay, and then once I have my needle in place, that's when I bring in the hair. And that is why I use a super aggressive needle, because if I were to stick the hair in first and then try and find where I want to be, that would be a lot more difficult. So You know, like I need to be able to see exactly where the next hair is going to be. And I need to do that without hair in the way. And this aggressive needle with the 6 barbs is going to grab the hair if I just place the hair next to it. So that's how I do it. Okay, you may not be able to see for a second because I've got to get in here to see it. Okay, so then the important part after you've done one, and I always check under to make sure that it hasn't come through here. If it has, you'll need to tweeze it out. So I want to make sure that my next hair is super close. You can't really see that. I'll try it this way. So I want the next hair to be super close to that first hair. I've got the right angle. I'm pointing slightly down, so I bring in my hair. There you go. Make sure to erase or to tweeze out any mistakes as you go along. And as you go along, the hair will start to get longer ends here, your clump of hair, and so you'll want to snip the end to make sure that you always have a blunt end to use. Okay, so I will do some more. I really have to get like way up close to it where the camera is, and so I will do some more and then show you. Okay, we're gonna line up the needle right close to the last hole, right there. Make sure that we're pointing slightly down, slightly outward. Bring in the hair, and there you go. Okay, now that the vinyl has been warmed up, I have turned the light down. I don't want to melt my doll. I want to be really careful of that, but just keeping it somewhat warm. And I just want to point out where the lashes are. They are not on this crease here. They're down at the edge. If you look in the mirror, take a look where your own lashes start, and it'll be down on the edge there. I think you can see that. Yeah, so I'm just going very slow, very deliberate each time. So as I'm going along, I am stopping every few hairs to look underneath and make sure that no hairs are coming out on the underside there where you would see them. That would both look bad and wouldn't work well for gluing it when we're done. Okay. All right. So I've finished the top lashes. And what I'm going to do next is get some distilled water on this little eyebrow brush and brush them up carefully, gently, because they're not glued yet to the back. So I don't want, you know, and not a lot come out, but just do it carefully. And it doesn't really matter if where they're shaped. We're going to be doing this again with the water to actually shape the lashes. The point of this is to find all of the lashes that are going the wrong way. And if they're poking out now, they will definitely poke out forever. You can't fix that. So what I do is I brush them up and then I let it dry. And as it dries, some will go spraying out, and those ones I need to get with the tweezers. Also, there are, often little tiny ones going the wrong way. If I happen to root too far up so that the end is poking out, so I need to pull those out. And the way I can see that is by turning it to the side. That helps me see all the little hairs that need to come out. And that's also why I root a little extra, well, a lot extra. One of the reasons why is so that I can have plenty of hair to pull out anything going the wrong way. So the hair has dried and I tweezed out any little hairs going the wrong way. I'm gonna get it wet again. And again, we're not paying super attention to the shape yet. But I want to glue the lashes, and when the lashes are just way too long back there, they have a tendency to like come out through the front when I'm gluing them. So I'm gonna trim, not completely, not super close to the ends, but I'm just gonna put these curved scissors in so that there's not super long hairs in there that are gonna get all tangled and weird. But I want to leave some of the hair, obviously, so that I can glue. And also, if it's too long, then the hair, instead of curving, instead of gluing around in a curve, it can come out kind of straight, and then that makes it hard to fit your eyeball in correctly. Okay, so make sure these are out of the way before you do the gluing. And the way I like to glue it is I put a little bit of glue on my fingernail, and then I will go in like this and just like that. Okay, so it occurred to me that a lot of you are probably working with kits that have backs still on the eyes. And I used to keep the backs on too, and now I always remove the backs. It's easier to glue the lashes, it's easier to insert the eyes, and if you remove them in the right place, it will hold on to the eye just fine, because there's still going to be a curve in the eye socket, and that's going to hold your eyes. So what I found is that where it's thinner, or where it's, kind of already coming off, that's usually the right place to cut it or to pull it out. So this one is kind of floppy, it's almost out. I'm just going to push it in with the brush and then grab it. There's just a little piece hanging on, so pull that off. So it is plenty secure and round to hold an eye. Show you. And stick a flat back eye in there like that. Or if you put a round eye in, now it's going to be really easy to turn it the direction you want. Put that out with the back of a brush. Now this one, I tried kind of pushing at it. well, I could kind of rip it a little bit like this, but can you see how there's a spot where it's a lot thinner? If you need to cut it, that's where you cut it, is right there where it's too thin. If you cut it too much, then your eyeball won't hold. And if you cut it too little, it'll be really hard to insert the eyes. So what you do is you go in and make sure you have some light. I would probably use my magnifier just to see, and go in and try to cut it right along where it's already kind of almost coming off. So I'm just following that. You know, this is just, you see how this blade, show you how this blade stops here, and then there's no blade here, so that you won't cut. That way you can put it in and you're not going to cut the edge of your eye. You're just going to cut on the inside. Okay, so you would just follow that around. Pull that out, and that has plenty of vinyl remaining to grab that eye, and you'll see there's no gap or anything. It's pulling it nice and close. One more little tip, just while we're talking about eyes. If the opening is too small, so that you can't put it in with your fingers, you can get one of these tools. I know Irresistibles has them, Doll So Real has them, and these are really handy for full round eyes. There's different sizes, which is important. If you put too small of an eye on the larger size, it won't be supported right and it'll break the stem. So you really kind of need two sizes, but this is the larger size. So you put it on here, and then you would put that in through the opening if it's a very small opening, and then you can either push it in like this, or sometimes I will turn it over and just kind of set it on there, and then I can usually get one finger in and push it the rest of the way in. Now we've got a full round eye that we can turn any direction we want. Ta-da! So yeah, you don't need these backs. When you glue it in, you can use some of that, the Rebornfx Ultimate Glue. Often, even though I wait a day to put the eyes in after gluing the eyelashes, they'll stick in there really good. And I'll usually just go in the back here and put some glue around the edges, the edge of the eyeball, like that. Okay. And I want to make sure to have a toothpick handy, because inevitably I will probably get a little bit on the eyelid that I want to get rid of. I really love this Rebornfx Ultimate Rooting Glue. It's the best. It dries super fast, and it is nice and flexible, so it doesn't crack. I just like it a lot. I like it for gluing eyeballs in too. So I will try to get a little bit on the back of my finger. It's probably too much. Wipe off a little bit. This is really tricky, but just takes some practice. Okay, so just pushing that, if you can see, pushing that glue like that up against the back of the eyeball. Okay. Just like that. And usually I get more of a mess, but oh yeah, right here, a little bit that I want to take off with the toothpick. Like that. Okay. And we'll do the other eye. Get a little bit of glue on the back of my fingernail. Make sure this is nice and wet so that it doesn't pop out and get in your way. And we will do it this way. Now, if it's a kit that you can't fit your finger through the neck, then you can do this with like a toothpick or something similar. Okay. Now I got a little bit of glue on the bottom of the eyelid, so I'm going to get that off of there. There we go. So yeah, if this was a kit I couldn't get into, I would probably try to push it in with the toothpick. And then I like the back of this tool, this little eyebrow brush, to go in and press it like that. You can do it that way. Get that cleaned up nicely. All right. And that doesn't take very long to dry, which is great. And often I'll do another little coat on top, just to make sure it's glued in nicely. Okay, this next step is really tricky. I've got a clean toothpick, and I'm going to trim the lashes a little bit to make it easier so that they don't get so tangled. Alright, so now is when we're going to shape and curl the lashes with some distilled water. And when we put the clear mascara on, that will help it retain the shape that we give it. So we're going to get them wet again, and this time we are going to pay attention to the direction that we're combing them. So for the ends, we want to comb them a little bit outward like that. And then a little bit inward for the inner corner. Straight up here. We don't care about the top really, because that'll be cut off. Okay. Brush this out. And brush that in. Yeah, and we want them to be nice and separated, not on top of each other. Okay. So that will be a nice shape. Okay, and what we want to do, we don't want them to dry like this, that would be weird. We want to have it have a curve. So I do two things. One thing is I'll push the hair down, and the other thing is I'll go in with a toothpick and pull the hair out. Just a little bit. And like I say, this can be really tricky, and you'll, if you're like me, you'll end up doing it several times before you're happy with it. So we're gonna see, now that didn't work so well. I'm gonna start over. Okay. Push it down. And then that's giving me enough space to fit. We want to make sure that this part stays attached, stays stuck to the head. So that's helping to curl it. Okay, this is curling nicely. Now I can see this one's kind of not working, that hair, so I'm going to use the toothpick to straighten it out. This one's also got a weird little curl that I want to straighten out. There, that's better. Okay. And you'll learn how far to go with this curve. Like you don't want it to be too shallow of a curve. I kind of look to the side, and then I imagine them cut and how, where do I want that curve to be when it's cut. Okay. Yeah, I'm pretty happy with that one. So I think I'll get this one a little more wet again. And then push that in. Oh, I tried so many different ways to get these to curve. I heard you could do it with a metal chopstick heated up, and I tried that, and glad for those that can make it work, because I couldn't get it to work. But this works well for me. Alright, try pushing that in. Push that in a little bit. And then we'll go under with the toothpick. Pull it out. And like I say, this is going to take some practice. It was really hard the first few times. Of course, I wasn't doing this little pushing action before. I learned that later. It's just a lot of trial and error.
Hey, this is Michelle from the future. The way you're doing that toothpick thing isn't really working so well. We need to come up with a better way. Hang on a minute. Okay, I've got it. What if we put the toothpick in first and then comb the hair over the toothpick, and then carefully slide the toothpick out. Then we can adjust the curl like that. That makes more sense, as you were.
Okay, the lashes are drying, and as they dry, they'll kind of pull away from the vinyl, and that's okay, as long as you're retaining your curl. You just look at it from the side, picture how you're gonna cut it. This might be dry enough. This one for sure, this side. Okay, so I will go in and cut it shorter, getting it closer to its final length. I just want to mention, it's a real temptation, I think, to make
the edges longer. Don't do that. That doesn't work. It has to just follow the eyelid, not be longer at the end. That won't look natural at all. Okay. I'm trying to think if I want to cut it shorter before I start snipping away. I think so. I think a little shorter. So easy to mess up and cut it a chunk. So you gotta be really careful. So now we're going to go in with the scissors and we're just going to cut the tips of the lashes. And this will make it so that it's all different lengths. Okay, there's a comparison between the snipped eyelash on the right that's been snipped to different lengths and the unsnipped eyelash on the left. Okay, so I've got my lashes cut and I've gotten all the little lashes off with this thing. This thing is awesome. Is a Giotto, let's see what it's called exactly, Rocket Air. And I love it for getting all the little hairs off. Or if you don't have one, you can brush like with this, but that doesn't work quite as well. I got my clean toothpick. I've got a little rooting needle to help me separate the lashes. I've got a pointy ended wedge from CVS so that if I get any mascara behind here, I can get it with a wedge. I used to put wax paper back here to protect it, but yeah, I don't really need it as much. Got some clear mascara, and we will do one of the eyes. All right. Just like that. Okay, so you can see how now it's coming together in little points. But I will take my, I need a sharper reading needle. Okay, I'll take my little reading needle and divide some of these points so that they're into smaller points. Ugh, it's hard to do without a magnifier. Let's see if we can do it this way. So while it's wet, I will divide some of these points into smaller points. There, that could be divided. I'll also kind of help the ends curl a little bit. Just like that. Okay. This looks a little clumpy. I could
divide, can you see that? Yeah. Divide that up a little bit to a couple of different ones. Okay. Yeah, I like how that's looking. I can see a couple of long ones that are too long. I will cut those after this dries so that the cut pieces won't stick to the lashes. Okay. Alright, so it takes me quite a while to do the top lashes, and I usually do the bottom lashes a different day just so that I'm fresh and not too tired to do them, because it all takes a lot of concentration. And they're also very important to get right. They're a little bit harder to place. You have to look on here and figure out where the natural line would be. And again, I would say look in the mirror, look at where your natural lashes are, so that you can find, you know, how far out you want that to be. And then again, pay attention to the direction back and forth and up and down of your needle. And for the bottom ones, you remember the top ones, we rooted them slightly down. For the bottom ones, we need to root with the needle slightly up. Or, well, let's see, the needle will be pointing downward. So instead of down, this is an extreme version, you need it to be going, here's the extreme version the other way, down, but not that far. Because you don't want your lash to show up here on the inside of the eyelid. It needs to be at an angle just enough so that it misses that part of the eyelid. Okay? And this is, I mean, this is something I have to get really up close and concentrate on, so I will not be showing exactly how to do it. Well, okay, I will try to do one, but okay, now I'm going to point it a little bit out. Picture a lash coming out, and imagine that your needle is that eyelash. It wouldn't be going this way, it wouldn't be going this way, it would be going like that. Okay, and down slightly, like that. Oh my gosh, it's hard with the camera in the way. But it did get a few in there. But that's basically how you do it. And again, just keep making sure that you, if they're not straight, or if you end up, sometimes if I'm going along, I might stray a little bit from where the line is, and then I'll be down here and realize, oh, whoops, that's not where I need to be. I'll pluck those out and then start again and go along the right way. Okay, so same thing with bottom lashes. We're gonna comb them carefully down. And I need my magnifying glass for this. Okay. So I'm gonna use my curved scissors to cut some of the longer hairs. Being very careful not to cut anything that I don't want cut.
Oh, you know what? I forgot. The first thing I want to do. Okay, the first thing is I'm going to comb it down, and then as it's drying, I'm going to look for hairs that. Oh, careful not to comb the top lashes there. I'm going to look for hairs that are poking out. So I'm going to go to the side like this. Here's one. Don't even need tweezers for that one. So looking to the side, and I can see several that need to be pulled out. Several that are just. I mean, make sure you get them wet first, so they have a fighting chance to stay down. But yeah, see, like these are just poking straight out. They need to go. And then I see some that are poking up into the eye socket right here. Those need to go. Okay. So that's going to dry, and I'm going to continue to pull out all the little hairs. Okay, I've got my rooting glue and a toothpick, and this is actually going to be a little more difficult, but I'll put a little glue on the end of my finger. Move that out of the way. And try to put this right on bottom lid like that. I actually want it a little wetter to make sure that the glue doesn't pull the lashes when I glue them. Okay, so other side. Got some glue where it shouldn't be. Okay, so coming up through and onto the bottom lid, just like that. There we go. And there we go. And this is where I'm probably going to use the back of this too to stick down some of those shorter ones poking up. Ugh. They're actually sticking up. Looks like I will need a toothpick to kind of roll a toothpick across here to help push them down. That seems to be working. Get rid of the extra stuff. All right. I want to kind of make sure that I don't have any globs. I wouldn't want any big globs of glue because that will make it hard for my eyeball to sit correctly. So the glue should not have big globs in it. I think this is going to be all right. Alright, so we're going to clip it a little shorter now. That's probably good. Just to make it easier to curl.
without tangling the ends. Sometimes when the ends are just so heavy, it's hard to push it up to curl it. Okay. So let's get the hair wet and shape it outward here, down in the middle, and inward here, just like this. Try and separate the hairs. Okay, inward, down in the middle. Oops, that's better. Out at the edges, not too far out. But a little bit. And down in the middle, like that. All right. Get a fresh toothpick. I don't think I'll need to, well, I might have to push it up. I was gonna say, sometimes I can use, put this back. Sometimes I can use this little crease to sneak my toothpick in, like that, so I don't have to actually push the hair up. But that's not working over here, so I will push the hair up a little bit and then sneak the toothpick in like that. Because we want this to have just a little bit of curl to it. Okay, and again, like I've been saying, look at your own lashes, see how they come outward on the bottom. They don't go straight down onto your face, they come outward. Okay, now I am trimming the lashes, lower lashes. So I'm kind of trimming it to a little longer than what I want the longest lashes to be. So the last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take a little bit of gloss varnish and very carefully go over the insides of the eyelids. And as I'm doing that, I'm also going to be kind of wiping my brush along the inside of that lash line, and that puts a little gloss on the inside, and so if there were extra hairs that didn't get got by the glue, it's just an extra way to seal them in. So I'm going to do that off camera, but I'm going to, gloss all along the bottom and along the top, especially because little bits of, I did it before I started, but I'm doing it again because little bits of glue get on there, and it's just a nice look to finish. So you finish your lashes. You've worked so hard, been so patient, it's taken all day. Please do not then ruin it with a $6 pair of acrylic eyes. And it doesn't matter how shiny you make them,
they're still going to be the same cartoony kind of look. I don't know if you can see this. I've tried a lot of ways to try and make these work and try and make them look good, and have come to the conclusion that they just are what they are. They're cheap eyes. The polyglass eyes, honestly, I can barely tell a difference. So there's nothing magic in polyglass that will make your eyes good. You spend all this time making beautiful lashes, spend all this time painting a beautiful doll. Don't cheapen it with super cheap eyes. Just don't. I'm begging because I care. You can get a German glass Lausha eyes from Dolls by Sandy for $36. Mickey is going to get, she is going to get some dark green special eyes from Irresistibles. These are $50. Hard to see them with the ring light. They have really cool design in them. And with the dark lashes and kind of the darker shading around the eyes and a little bit darker hair, I think they will look really good. Okay, so good luck on your lashes. Please don't use cheap eyes. And that's all.